All right, so we go like, click, and subscribe, do all that. We're going to get to the first game, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cincinnati Bengals, week 4. All right, so bottom line here is the Bengals do get their first win. They beat the Jaguars 33-25. Let's go through the stats. Joe Burrow, 25 of 36, 300 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. Joe Mixon, 151 yards, 2 TDs. Tyler Boyd, 90 yards. Gardner Minshew, 27 of 40, 351 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick. James Robinson, 107 total yards. DJ Clark, 95 yards and 2 TDs. The kickers on both teams combined for about 8 field goals. 4 for Randy Bullock and 4 for Audric Rosas. Mixon basically went crazy in the third quarter, giving Cincinnati, like I said earlier, their first win of the season, and they ended up beating the Jaguars. Gardner Minshew, what happened to you? And up next, we got the New Orleans Saints taking on the Detroit Lions. The Saints ended up beating the Lions today, 35-29. Let's check the stats. Drew Brees, 19 of 25, 246 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick. Latavius Murray back on the scene, 64 yards and 2 TDs. Traquan Smith, 54 yards and 2 TDs. Matt Stafford, 17 of 31, 206 yards, 3 TDs, 1 pick. Adrian Peterson, 36 yards, 1 TD. Kenny Golladay, he ended up getting 62 yards at a TD. He was back. The Lions got up early in this one. It was 14-0 with a couple TD passes. But then I guess Drew Brees had enough of the old man talk, enough of that short passing talk from critics. Talk about, oh, he can't sling the ball down the field no more. He can't do this no more. Well, guess what? New Orleans scored 35 unanswered points after that. And basically, it was enough to shut down the Lions. And up next, we got the Seattle Seahawks, 12th man country, taking on the Miami Dolphins with the Beard Fitzpatrick. The Seahawks ended up beating the Lions 31-23. Let's check the stats. Russell Wilson, 24-34, 360 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick. Chris Carson, 80 yards and 2 TDs. David Moore, 95 yards and a TD. Ryan Fitzpatrick, 29-45 yards. 29-45, 362 total yards, 1 rushing TD, but he also threw 2 picks. Devontae Parker back in action. He had 110 yards in this game. Both teams combined for 850 total yards in this game. Jason Sanders ended up kicking 5 field goals for the Dolphins, but apparently it wasn't enough because Chris Carson closed it out with a touchdown to keep Seattle undefeated over there, 4-0, putting in work, giving business. And up next, we have this scrappy Los Angeles Chargers team taking on the Tom Bradyest of Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs ended up pulling it out against the Chargers in a gruesome battle. It was 38-31, close one here. Tom Brady, 30 of 46, 369 yards, 5 TDs. He threw a pick. It was a pick 6, but he got over that 5 TDs, giving business. Ronald Jones, 111 yards. Mike Evans had 122 yards at a TD. Justin Herbert, he damn near perfect, but he was 20 for 25, 290 yards, 3 TDs, but he threw a pick 2. Jalen Guyton, okay, 72 yards at a TD. Bottom line is, Tom Brady went crazy, dropping TD passes to O.J. Howard, Mike Evans, Cameron Brate, Scotty Miller, and Keyshawn Vaughn. I mean, basically, I like Justin Herbert, you know what I'm saying? He's got some good mechanics, but when you make 2 turnovers to Tampa Bay, that's never a good thing, especially with Tom Brady at the helm. Even though Brady did throw a pick 6, they still pulled out the win and got themselves a victory for this Sunday. That was crazy how it almost didn't go in. And here we have the beautiful Black and Purple Express. You know it is, the Baltimore Ravens taking on the DC squad. I told you I'm not calling them by that name that's down there. You already know what time it was. Ravens beat that football team 31-17. Lamar Jackson, 14 of 21, 246 yards, 2 TDs, 1 rushing TD, 1 pick. Mark Andrews, he's back, 57 yards and 2 TDs. Dwayne Haskins, 32 of 45, 314 yards. Antonio Gibson, he was able to get loose today, 46 yards at a TD. Terry McLaurin, 118 yards. And, you know, our boy, Big Trust, Mark Ingram got himself a TD early in the first quarter. Bottom line is, you already know our defense kept the pressure on Haskins all day. And it wasn't really a surprise there. You know what I'm saying? RG3 was able to come in, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, he had a lot of sentimental value with that. You know, he played for the Redskins a long time ago. You know, he had the #1 jersey in the league. Everything happened. And, of course, he had the torn ACLs and all that. But, you know what I'm saying? It was nice to be able to pick him up, you know what I'm saying? And it's been a very sentimental moment for him, especially coming out, you know, in D.C., you know. So, you know, that was a nice little thing to do for him, you know, after we was stomping him out. It was great, though. And up next, we had the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Carolina Panthers. You knew it was going to be a good one. Teddy Bridgewater going against Kyler Murray. We was like, okay, that's what's up. Kyler Murray didn't throw any picks in this one. You know what I'm saying? That was good. But bottom line is it wasn't enough because Teddy Bridgewater led his Panthers to victory, 31-21. Teddy Bridgewater, 26 of 37, 246 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick. Mike Davis had 101 total yards and 1 TD. Robbie Anderson had about 99 yards. Kyler Murray, 24 of 31, 211 yards, total yards, 3 TDs. Chase Edmonds, 3 TDs, like I said. Chase Edmonds, 24 yards, 1 TD. Murray, like I said, he didn't throw any picks this week, but, you know, when you 3rd and 9, 3 and 9 on third down conversions, that's just not going to cut it. Teddy just proved that he was a little more experienced than Kyler on this day. But once again, it was a good matchup and a good win for the Panthers. Now, honestly, this is so weird to say because, you know, last year they were playoff teams. But you have the 0-3 Minnesota Vikings taking on the 0-3 Houston Texans. In this one, the Vikings ended up beating the Texans 31-23. Kirk Cousins, 16 of 22, 260 yards, 1 TD. Dalvin Cook, 130 yards, 2 TDs. Adam Thielen, 114 yards, 1 TD. Deshaun Watson, 20 of 33, 300 yards, 2 TDs. David Johnson had 63 yards. Will Fuller, back in perspective, 108 yards and a TD. This definitely was a back-and-forth game, and yes, it does sound weird to say this once again, but Minnesota gets their first win of the season in Week 4, and Houston falls to 0-4. Bill O'Brien trading away DeAndre Hopkins. Anyway, that's a whole nother story, but there's some big controversy towards the end of this game. I will attempt to show it. Now, this was for the game right here. Now, here you have 31-23, 4th and goal. Deshaun Watson has the ball, and you're about to see the play right here. He throws it. He makes a pass to Will Fuller. It's caught. Touchdown, right? But then watch this. They changed the call because the ball's dribbling around. And because they said the ball had to ground first, they called it back. It was not a touchdown. And it was incomplete. So because he didn't have his hand under the ball to make a complete possession, they called it back. It's not a touchdown and turnover on downs. Wow. And of course, we got to save the goofiness for last on every aspect of life in football. You have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Browns end up beating the Cowboys 49-38. So let's get to the stats on this. Baker Mayfield, 19 of 30, 165 yards, 2 TDs. Kareem Hunt, 71 yards and 2 TDs. OBJ, 154 yards and 3 TDs. Dak Prescott, 41 of 58, 502 yards, 4 TDs, 1 pick. Tony Pollard, 16 yards and a TD. Amari Cooper, 134 yards and a TD. Yo, Nick Chubb left the game early due to injury. Both teams combined for over 1,000 yards of offense. Dallas secondaries once again took a beating again because Odell had 2 TDs all last year or the whole season. He had 3 today, destroying the damn secondaries. 4th quarter, the Browns were up, and I repeat, the Browns were up 41-14. Do you know what happened? Dak wanted to be comeback Dak. He threw 3 TDs and converted 3 2-point conversions in the 4th quarter. That's right, 24 unanswered points. But Baker said, the heck with all that. We ain't the Atlanta Falcons, and let Odell rush the final TD. He rushed a 50-yard TD on that Dallas defense, just proving that defense is flat out garbage. And guess what? The Cowboys fall to 1-3. But first off, I got to show you something even more extraordinary throughout all this. Myles Garrett was going ridiculous, but let's just talk about the Cleveland Browns for a second. Now, this is how bad Dallas' defense is. Nick Chubb went out the game early. Do you know the Browns still rushed for 307 yards on that goofiness of a defense? Yeah, that happened. If you don't believe me on how trash Dallas defense is, first off, Odell Beckham burned up for like 2 TDs earlier in the game. You know, kind of the same way Tyler Lockett did them last week. But I want you to see this and keep in mind, Odell Beckham is running. Look at this. He ran all the way backwards. Does he think he's Barry Sanders or something? He ran backwards and came forwards. You'd have thought he was Barry Sanders doing stuff like this. Look at this. Beating the fire out of him. Touchdown right here. But that's not even the worst part. That's not even the worst part of all of this. Now, after he scored, they're just going for the extra point. This is the most inexplicable thing I could ever imagine seeing in the NFL. It might have happened in college. I've never seen it in the NFL. Watch this. You're going for the PAT. It gets blocked, but it bounces forward. No Dallas man can recover it. It goes all the way into the end zone, and Cleveland lands on it. Wow. So basically, that is a 2-point conversion when they scored on it when it was supposed to be just a PAT. So they like, okay, sure, fine. But that is the craziest thing I've seen. Like when everything is falling apart, that is the exclamation point of Dallas. I swear I didn't think it was possible, but your defense this year actually looks worse without Jason Garrett hand clapping coaching for you. It's ridiculous. Dak, your defense, you need help, but the defense is not going to help you, especially your secondaries. They don't even exist out there. They might as well have just put nobody in the field. They'd have had a better time blocking. Your defense couldn't even block a game of Tetris.